welcome to Branco Broadcast. My name is Bob Branco. I hope you're having a fine evening tonight on this warm April the 18th here on the East Coast. I don't know how it is anyplace else in this country. Our guest tonight for a return appearance is Phyllis Campbell. She's here to speak again on her projects. Welcome, Phyllis. You can tell us all about what you've been up to these days, and then we'll take questions. We'll ask you questions when you're finished your presentation.
Thank you so much for having me. I really had fun the last time I was here. It's hard, as I think I said when I was here before, to know just what people are interested in. People so often will ask me, where do you get your ideas from? And this is so hard to say because they come from different places. I know that sometimes someone will just drop something. They will say, just a simple thing. And I'll think, that would make a very interesting plot for a book or for a short story. Now I'm mostly working on longer things rather than short stories. I admire people who can write beautiful short stories or poetry. My poetry, I get all sorts of things that I think that would make an absolutely beautiful poem. But I cannot write poetry, and I admire poets so very, very much. So those of you who write poetry, I won't say I'm envious, because probably if I weren't lazy, I could write poetry. But I do admire your ability to write poetry. But where short stories or novels are concerned, ideas come from so many different places. I did start out writing short stories. People will say, what do you write about? I think when people say, what do you write about, or people will be just starting out. And when I first started out, I had no idea, really, what I really wanted to write about. This may not be true of the rest of you. You may know exactly what you want to write about. And, of course, I suspect people on here who write are seasoned writers. Or you know exactly what you want to do, whatever your hobby or whatever it is you want to do. And this goes over, I think, into any part of life. A lot of times we don't know really what we want to do. And I think even when you reach what is called the seniors or the golden years, a lot of times you still don't know what you want to do. And when I say you, I'm including myself, trust me. And I think the only way one can tell is just to try. And incidentally, I think sometimes this is even true more for us who have reached a certain age because our lifestyle has changed. We don't go out to work every day, at least many of us don't. I'm still writing. I still have a position as a church organist. I don't teach piano or do computer technology classes as much as I once did. But I think for a lot of us, after we reach a certain age, we certainly don't do 40 hours a week, which means that we are reaching the point in life. Now, what do I want to do with myself? And so I think with whatever we do in life, a lot of times we have to look for what we want that next step to be. And I think this is so very true of so many, many things. And when I first started out as a writer, I experimented. I wrote for the inspirational market. I I did a piece for the Virginia Psychiatric Journal. I did all sorts of things until finally I settled on the fact that I really work well with novels and with nonfiction, but I like the full-length things better. But I've written for young people. I wrote one book for young people, and I've written mysteries. I've written a supernatural mystery. So it all comes down, I think a lot of times, no matter what you're doing, to experimenting and seeing what you feel comfortable with and what works better, with your relationship, with if you're a writer, with your readers, if it's something else in life, whatever you're doing as you reach out around you. Now, I'm going to give you a chance to ask some questions. You know what you're interested in. I may sit here and talk the whole time and not say anything that would interest anybody, but maybe me. So I'm going to give you a chance to ask some questions or to make comments if you'd like to. So go ahead and say anything you want to.
Okay, let's open up the floor.
Yeah, I got one.
That's David.
Yeah, Phyllis, are you published, and and if you are, how did you manage that? And if you're not, are you planning to be?
I am published. I have 2 books, which incidentally are on the Bard site, and they're also out in Braille, that were done by the so-called conventional publishers, regular print publishing houses. And then I have 3, I had to stop and count, 3 ebooks through Amazon and Smashwords. They're available in the Apple Store and Nook and loads of the e-places that, do ebooks. The first 2 that I did, it was very interesting about how I did those. The first one that I did, I sent another manuscript to Avalon Books, and the editor at Avalon Books said, this is not for us. But what I'd really, really like to see is a book about a young woman who has her career all set up and who loses her sight and has to rethink her whole career, her whole life. And I created a character who was a young woman who had wanted to be a doctor all her life. She was just ready to finish up her work as an obstetrician, and she lost her sight. And she was getting ready to get married, and of course she was had all that set up. The man she was marrying was a very ambitious person, and he had a domineering mother. And the book is her story, how she overcame all these obstacles, including mother, how she really remade her life, how she found, a new love, how she decided that this ambitious kind of life he wanted for her was not really what she wanted. Then the other book is something that I definitely would not have written. This same editor left Avalon Books and opened up her own publishing house. And she contacted me and said that she wanted a book about animals. She wanted a book that told my life story with all the animals that I had had through my life. And I said, Barbara, you're out of your tree. There is absolutely nothing noteworthy about my life. Absolutely nothing. I mean, I just don't have that much to tell. And she said, well, do an outline, rough outline, do me 3 chapters, and let's see. And I did. and she sent me a contract and an advance check, and the book did do quite well. I didn't make a heck of a lot of money out of it, but it did well. It came out in hardcover and in paperback with St. Martin's, and then it was done in Chinese, if you can believe it. They said that was really interesting looking. And then we sold the rights to the United Kingdom, and it came out here too in large print with Thorndike Press. And as I told you, if any of you are interested in seeing my two books, they are available through the National Library Service.
Mm-hmm. Now, isn't the Braille in large print expensive to produce?
Well, I mean, I didn't have to produce any of this. Of course, the National Library Service, what they do is done by the U.S. government.
Oh, so they did the Braille ones too for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
oh, wow.
They pay for that. And whereas the large print that Thorndike did, they, of course, paid me for the right to do it.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Well, yeah, I have one. This is Alan from Vermont.
Okay.
I've written many short stories using my little buddy, a raccoon, called Little Rascal. And it's got all kinds of stories and morals involved with, for children type of thing, about not doing drugs, don't talk to strangers. It's cute. I need a good illustrator. Do you know how to go about finding one that can do pictures and illustrate and go along with the text that I'm writing?
No, I will have to be honest, I don't. I know people who do book covers, but, you know, an illustrator as such, I don't. But
while at university, I took a couple of poetry classes through the English department. And I was never able to write poetry until I took this class, and I found that free verse is so easy to write. You can just sit somewhere and you'll hear a bird sing or a chirp, or you'll see, the sunset or whatever, and before you know it, you've written something down. You allow yourself to just start feeling and writing, and you've come away with something that you never thought possible. Free verse poetry is very easy to write.
I have never been able. This might be. I might be able to do that. I think my problem with poetry is that I'm thinking too much about form when I'm trying to write it, and it just never seems to come out right. I get these beautiful, well, they're beautiful to me anyway, beautiful thoughts, but then I think I get all mired down in the form of poetry itself, and then I'm sunk.
Don't let it worry you. What you do is use a tape recorder and just start talking. It's so easy.
Okay, I'll have to try it.
What about the form later? If you write your ideas first, then you can think. Because any writing, if you think of the style too much, you'll never write. So you just got to write.
You know, you're probably right about that. Also about your illustrator, you might contact some of the colleges in your area and see if they might have a student who would be glad to help you. They might have someone who would like to make a little extra money and who might even be able to get some extra credit, helping you to illustrate your book.
After I'm about to take surgery soon, but afterwards I am going to be talking to the chairman within the English department to see if they have suggestions. I am more geared towards writing textbooks. I've written several. I am a college professor, so yes, I've written several textbooks, and for the publish and perish type of thing, articles and getting things done for symposiums and things. But I am not one that can just sit down and crank out a novel, but I can crank out text without any problem.
Right. Well, I would check with colleges, because it's entirely possible that a student or more than one student might be very interested in that project.
Well, thanks for your suggestion, and I've enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, Phyllis.
Yes.
Yes, this is Don from Massachusetts.
Yes, Don.
A couple of quick questions. You've mentioned you've written on the supernatural. Now that covers many, many, many areas.
Yes, it does.
A million areas. What have you specifically written on regarding the supernatural?
Okay, this book, actually, it's sort of a supernatural mystery. It deals, I'll tell you what cost me to write it. This goes back quite a few years ago. I was doing an article on the role of women back a couple centuries ago. Well, back actually in the 1800s, to be exact. And I was saying, oh my goodness, the role of women was pretty bad back then. But wonder what happened to blind women. And I said, especially one who was ambitious, who wanted to do something. And we were at dinner, my husband and I, and a friend of ours. And our friend Ed said, yeah, somebody like you. He said, well, I'll tell you one thing. She probably wouldn't even want to stay dead. So I created this woman, Melissa, who was very ambitious. She went to school for the blind. She went on, well, it's a long, long thing, but the point is she didn't want to stay dead. And it's then a story of a young woman in, modern time.
Right.
And the long and the short of it is that Melissa was trying to come back. She was looking for a body. But she had to have just a specific kind of body. The person had to be
so she was in spirit form.
Yes. She was real in the
Yes.
She was real in the 1800s. But then she was coming back in the 20th or the 21st century.
Yes.
Well, they discovered as, they began to look to see what would happen. She had been back before, but I'm not going to tell too much about it because
right.
I'm hoping maybe some of you guys might get the book. I mean,
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Anyway, she kept trying to come back because she had to have a body. But it had to be a body whose fingers would play the piano because she was a musician. The person had to occupy the room where she had died.
Uh-huh.
And the person had to be blind, just as she was. In other words, the body had to be just the right kind of body. But there was this other spirit who was coming back looking for a body too, who was determined that Melissa was not going to come back. And each time she found a body, he would kill it.
Ooh, that sounds like interesting.
And this is essentially, what the book is about. And of course, where it takes place, the modern one, the actual place the plot takes place, is in a building which is on the campus of the School for the Blind. And it's one of the original buildings, which actually does exist at the School for the Blind here, although the rest of the plot is definitely, it's created by me because...
Right.
But the building itself does exist, although the tunnel that connects it with the chapel, which also does exist, but the tunnel does not exist. Loads of things in this book, I've taken literary liberty with. But it's kind of a fun book if you like that kind of thing. There's also a dog, a German Shepherd, big, huge. Well, actually, he was not originally a German Shepherd. As someone described him, he was a big hound kind of dog, the kind of dog that they used to run the slaves down back in the time before the Civil War. And the dog is coming back too, and it's so funny. The dog is sort of practicing trying to find a body, and he inhabits the body of this big old fat Cocker Spaniel.
Oh my.
But he does then find the body of a German Shepherd, and then he becomes quite dangerous. But that's what this particular supernatural book is all about.
Is that a whole novel? I mean, do you know how many pages that is?
I don't know right off, but it is available. If any of you guys are really interested, it's hard for me to sell myself in my books. I couldn't sell Girl Scout cookies. I'd go up and ring the doorbell and say, I don't suppose you'd like to buy a box of Girl Scout cookies today. But if any of you are interested in reading the book, seriously, it's called Out of the Night. If you happen to have, a lot of devices, you can even get it of Smashwords and just plain text. But also, if you have an iPhone or an iPad, I understand that it works quite nicely on that. So if any of you are really interested, I think the price is something like $7.99 or something like that. And of course, I'd be delighted for you to buy it, but that's not what I'm on here for tonight. I'm not here trying to sell books.
I'm always interested in that period of time as well, the 1800s, 1850s. Does this touch on any with the abolitionists, with women's suffrage or transcendental?
Not exactly, but it does tell this woman who's trying to find a body. She is just she is so interested in making lives better for the young blind women in the school. And there is this man, the one who's the male spirit trying to come back. He just exploited the young women in the school terribly, and he did her too. And as I said, I'm not going to give too much away here, but she just thought she did whatever she could do to gain her independence and to fight for herself and for the girls her students that she had. And of course, she didn't stay dead. She was so determined. And at the end of the book, there was this scene where her spirit came back, and she and the woman, the modern woman, stood together, and the man's spirit came, and she said, you cannot get the best of me now. I've forgotten her exact words. She said, I am woman, I'm weak, I am strong, and you cannot defeat me. And the fact that she was willing to stand up to him, and her strength and the strength of the modern woman actually drove him back and away.
Now, did you look at it from a historical perspective in the cultural and history that took place in the 1800s type of thing?
Yes. But I didn't do a strict historical thing. It was more of a feeling of the period. But yes, and I understand that actually at the School for the Blind, I do not know how true this was, but I understand that there was a man who was superintendent of the school at one time who did sort of take some liberties with the young women, and I don't know how true this was at all. And of course, I, was very careful not to let any of this reflect on people who were gone since, I knew nothing exactly. But let's just put it this way. It was a situation that could definitely have taken place because at that time, people paid no attention to what was going on. I do know that if there were people, especially women, at the School for the Blind or just blind women, I do know this, that if there was no place for them, if they had no family, or if their family didn't want them, and trust me, that happened more than people realized, even over into the 1900s. Do you know what happened to them? They put them in a mental institution.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the custodialism that comes down with the attitude, believe it or not, in Congress over much of the legislation is from this same period.
I volunteered at our local senior center. Oh, this goes back 30 some years ago. And I worked with some of the blind people from the state mental institution here. And I had this woman, I expect she was close to 80 then, but I'm not sure. Anyway, they told me that she had been at the hospital since she was just a very young girl, I suspect in her teens. But they weren't awfully sure because the record was very muddled. But she'd been there all those years. She'd been committed, and that was just it. And the only reason that they could find for the committal was that she had used bad language.
Oh, jeez.
So I made this, as a point in the book. So in a sense, it was historic information about the lot of women, about the lot of blind people, period, back in those days. And I preferred to do it through the kind of thing that I thought would interest people. And I'll have to admit I had fun doing that book.
That's nice. Yeah.
Could you repeat the name of that book one more time, please?
Certainly. It's Out of the Night.
Right.
Thank you.
Now, this is an e-book. It's, as I say, it's available on Amazon. Oh, by the way, we were talking about my little friend, the Echo. She also reads Amazon e-books.
How much does the Echo cost?
$179 plus your state tax.
I've seen the ads for that. It looks really intriguing. I mean,
well, I was fascinated that it reads the Kindle books.
Ah, okay. Yep. Is there any other way to read Kindle books that you know of?
Well, they do have an app that will read it on your computer, but the speech is dreadful.
Oh, okay, yeah. Are your books in like EPUB? Because they have EPUB readers that Yep, that's correct.
But if you have an Apple, any of the Apple devices, it will read, they will read it.
Kindle, yeah. Okay, great.
So, and, but I think, as I say, I'm honestly, truly, Bob, I did not come on your program to read books. To sell books. I honestly didn't.
Oh, I know that, Phyllis.
I truly, I
That sounds
can't
like a
sell.
good book, though.
I can't
Really?
sell. I wish I could. My ebooks would sell a lot better if I could, I have a website, but I simply cannot go somewhere like Facebook or somewhere like that and push my books. I just can't do it. Okay, any other questions?
So Phyllis, this is Joan Miles, and
Yes.
I didn't hear your previous show with Bob, so maybe you could tell me a little bit about your background?
Sure. I am, of course, I live in Virginia. I am totally blind. I've been blind all my life. I've wanted to write since, oh goodness, ever since I first realized I could write, ever since I realized those little dots would do things. And my fourth grade teacher told my mother I was going to be a writer, and I thought that lady lost her mind. But I have been writing professionally since the 60s. I started out writing short stories and articles, and then, of course, you heard, about my novels. I don't know what to tell you about me. What are you interested in?
Oh,
See, I can't even sell me.
I write a little poetry, and I am dabbling with writing short stories, but I have no training in it, and so it's not coming
Honey,
easily.
Let me tell you something. No one, now, loads of people will disagree with me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
People can teach you mechanics of writing. Now, I don't disagree with that. But you know what? Nobody can teach you to write.
I agree.
Oh, I can believe that. But as far as creating the outline of the story...
Oh, don't say that nasty word.
That's a nasty word. Just write. Just write your ideas.
Okay.
Dive right in.
Let me tell you what I do, all right?
Okay.
Now, here again, this is the individual, and this is if I teach a class or if I do a workshop, this is what I tell people. And here again, it's what works for the individual. But let's say I'm doing, the book I did for Barbara, of course, it was nonfiction. But what I did with that one, I sat down and I thought, now, where do I want this to start? And I thought about the start, that it would start back when I got my first kitten, which was also my first experience as a child, little girl, 5 years old, with death. Okay, this is where this book needs to start. And then I sat there and I thought, I'm certainly not going to write, And then I thought, okay, where should it end? And I thought, it probably should end at a beginning. Now, that's just where this particular book I thought should end. So what I did was I ended it right after my husband and I bought our first house, which was, a settled place for us, but yet it showed that things would be going on for us. And then I filled in the things that happened, the high points that happened, the amusing points. Okay, that's what I did with the nonfiction. With fiction, I usually, and I think this is pretty true for any fiction piece, unless he said you just sit and write. And that works for some people beautifully, for some it doesn't. Pick your beginning. Decide, okay, this is where the reader needs to start looking at this. And then, okay, where's this thing going? Where am I going to take it? What is the place? Where do I want it to go? What am I actually working toward? what do I need to take it to? And once you figure out that, then you figure out, okay, how am I going to get it to that place? Does this make sense?
Yes, it does.
And this is sort of what might be called, then you might now, of course I know they're all kind of formal outlines. We're not here now, we're not talking here. You, of course, if you were doing, a textbook or something, you wouldn't get by with even thinking of this is not a true outline. A lot of times an editor will ask for a chapter by chapter outline. And here again, what you can usually nicely get by with, and to just say the high points of what happened in each of your chapters. And of course, you've pretty much got to have your book written before you're going to do a chapter by chapter outline. Right. But this is the way I usually work. Now, that said, don't fool yourself. That book's not going to hang on to that little outline you've done for yourself. The beginning and the end probably are going to stay, but who knows, they may not. Because I've had things just take off and go in a direction that I never thought it might go in. If it wants to do that, let it do it.
Along with what you're saying, Phyllis, I allow my characters to take my book in directions and how they interact with other people. The character.
Yeah.
They're going to do it, too.
Oh, yeah, they are.
They do. Phyllis, this is Lauren. I wanted to go back and ask you what you were talking about with the echo.
Yeah, what about my echo?
I want to know more about that.
Yeah.
Okay. The Echo is put out by Amazon. People tell me they've seen them advertised on TV. I don't watch TV. I usually get what I want online. It's voice operated. It will tell you the time. It will tell you the weather, your local weather. It will, it'll do also in the larger cities. You can get things like subway schedules. You can get traffic conditions. It will play music if you ask for music by a specific artist. It will look for it and find it. You can set up what it calls radio stations through like Pandora, and you can set up, actually it's collection, sort of like a playlist of things by that artist, and then just ask her to play it, and she'll play it for you. She'll spell words. I forgot to tell you guys before, you can ask her how you spell a word. She'll give you the synonym if you want it. She will give you, like if you ask, when was Abraham Lincoln assassinated? You can ask questions, historical questions.
Like theory almost, right?
You can ask all sorts of things. She has, the last I counted, it was about 21 what they call pages. I'm sure it's probably a screen of text. It's kind of hard to see what a computer means by a page. Of tasks that you can go to and, choose. You just click on the ones that you want to choose, and then you just ask her to do that thing you want. You do have to set her up through your computer or your iPad or whatever. She works through your Wi-Fi. But you do set her up through.
Can I get her to do the dishes and laundry?
Yeah, no, she will not do that. I tried to make her, and she wouldn't do that.
Sorry, dude,
but she will read a book too?
Yes, she will read Kindle books.
That's good.
Okay.
The Amazon Kindle.
Yeah.
And the speech is really not bad at all.
It's not what I heard on the TV. It sounded awesome. I was like, this.
She will. Let me see something else. Oh, you can set timers. You can set stopwatch. Let's see. There's so many things she does that I keep forgetting them. But it really is sort of uncanny that. But all you do is just call her name and tell her what, give her. Now, just like with your computer, if you don't type in your command exactly the way you have to, it's not going to do it. And you have to tell her exactly what you want. And that she'll do it. She'll go to all sorts of radio stations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else got a comment about the Echo or
doing a good job selling that.
Yeah, I think Amazon needs to give me. Yeah, now I can sell other things, but I can't sell me. That product is not hard to sell.
No, it has so many features.
It really is. It's fun. I'll have to admit, I bought the portable one so I could have one in my bedroom.
Hey, that's
wow.
Oh, why not?
But the portable one is only $129 plus your tax.
Does it do as much as the other one, though?
Yes, the only difference is that instead of just calling her name and telling her what you want done, you have to tap a button and then, give your verbal command.
Oh.
Okay.
So, because I can't stand in the kitchen and tell her, set a timer. I have to tap the button on the other one and tell it what. They didn't have that one when I bought this one. Or I don't know, I might have bought that one, but another thing, I can take that one outside, which I think would be kind of nice, so.
In this nice time of year, yeah. Is that called Alexa? Is that the one?
Okay, it's let me spell it. Alexa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I heard. That
it's
named after Billy Joel's boat.
Seriously? I didn't know that.
Anybody else anything?
Phyllis, how big is the portable device, Echo?
Let me see if she'll tell me, because I'm not sure. Alexa, describe the tap. Let me see if she'll do. Oh, Lord, she's telling me something about a village. I don't. Well, it looks like a cylinder. I don't have it right here. I would say that probably about 6 or 8 inches tall, and I'm not real sure what the diameter is, but it's not large at all.
Oh, okay.
You won't confuse it with a beer can, Don.
No, it's bigger than your beer can.
The beer can.
It's larger than your beer can. You will not get it confused with your beer can.
Not 8 inches tall, neither.
Now, a beer can that size might be kind of interesting, but
yeah.
And it's smaller than a bottle of whiskey.
It depends on what size your bottle of whiskey is.
Well, it's bigger than your Harvey Wallbangers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm trying to envision? Well, guys,
So do all of your...
if you took Harvey's neck off,
We're all teeth.
Harvey minus his neck might be about...
I'll have you know, Phyllis, we're teetotalers.
Oh, somehow I don't think I believe that.
So,
Yeah, Don, aren't you a teetotaler?
Believe
Don?
that lie, I'll tell you. Ask the
Yeah.
blind man, he thought too.
Somehow I just don't think I can quite believe that.
And we're all members of the Ladies Women's Auxiliary for the Sewing Circle.
Yes, I can believe that.
So.
Yeah, right. I'll have to tell you something amusing about that, not the sewing circle, but when I first came home from the hospital last year, my neighbor brought some homemade pizza over, and he said, Shannon said, if you want a beer and you don't have one, she'll send one over to you. And I said, oh, Pete, I'm on so much medication right now, I'm afraid to take one. And he said, well, Shannon will come over then, and it'll probably take both of us to get down off the ceiling. So.
Well, Phyllis, tell me, how long has this device, Echo, been out? I've never heard of it.
I don't know. I heard about it in November.
Okay.
Sounds about right, yeah.
So you're saying it's a relatively new product?
Yes.
Okay. I got that.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. It really is. Especially for the money.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
In order to get it done, you need to buy 2 books first.
Hey,
No.
That's how you sell it.
Yeah, you do. Actually, you mean 2 of my books. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to tell Amazon that unless you have bought at least 2 of my books, they cannot sell you one.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Well, here's a question, Phyllis. Now, in Don's case, where he has no computer, would he be able to use the Echo?
He could use it, but someone else would have to set it up for him.
Okay. So
That would be a problem that he'd have to work out. My sister is in a nursing home, and of course you have to have Wi-Fi. Do you by any chance have an iPad or something?
No, I do not.
There's nothing.
Someone would have to set it up. My sister is in a nursing home, but they happen to have Wi-Fi, and a friend of hers set it up for her. But without a computer or an iPad or an iPhone or something of that sort, and without a connection, a Wi-Fi connection, you really can't. It's impossible to have.
Really? Well, that's kind of a drawback, but...
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's good to know these things. Yeah.
Phyllis, can the Echo do research for you?
I'm not sure. I think it would depend on how much research. Offhand, well, now wait a minute. Well, here again, it depends on how deep you want to go. Because I believe someone told me that it would do things on Wikipedia.
Uh-huh.
But you may want to go a lot deeper than Wikipedia.
Yeah. You can't always trust Wikipedia.
No. And that's why I said it depends on what you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you Wikipedia, you'll clean it.
Oh God.
I know.
Oh.
Well, we've got time for a couple more.
Are any of your books on digital?
Yes.
Only through National Library Service.
NLS, yep.
And of course the e-books are digital, but I don't, there's no Audible. Yeah. I'd love to get some of those e-books done in, auditory. But it's terribly expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And I really can't afford it.
Yeah.
Because you'd never make it back. You'd never get even.
Yeah,
you'd never break even.
Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to get your books on NLS after you Did you have a secret to getting in there? I mean,
no. I think Barbara Brett sent them copies. I can't remember. Actually, I think I just knew that they had them. I don't think they ever... No, I would take that back. They did call me just before they put them out, and I don't think it took too long because they called me to see how you pronounced a couple things.
Yeah.
So do all your books take place in Virginia, or did you research other
well, some of them... Of course, my autobiography naturally did.
Uh-huh.
And the others, I guess they did when I stopped to think about them. They did. And if any of you who want to go on Amazon and see, I think you can. You can get samples, sample chapters on Amazon if you want to go look.
And you're in
But be cautious, because there's another Phyllis Campbell who writes on there.
Uh-oh.
And my niece says that the covers on her books are rather lurid. So the names of mine are Out of the Night, Who Will Hear Them Cry, which is a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And the one for young adults is A Place to Belong.
Okay.
The book called Who Will Hear Them Cry, what is that about?
Yeah. It's a mystery. By the way, most of my books do deal with blindness because I feel that to educate the public, you can write all the, don't misunderstand me, the educational public things are wonderful. They're great. But a lot of people will not read an article. They won't be caught dead reading an informative.
They'll read that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if it's nonfiction, if it's fiction, they're going to read it. So this is one reason I sort of almost feel that it's a mission to educate people. So this one deals with a woman who was a partner in a detective agency. And she was testifying in court. And she got this phone call the day that she was going to testify. And this man said, "Do not testify today." And she said, "You're always getting these dumb people." He said, "I am the messenger of the Lord." And she was testifying against this, this punk drug dealer. And she said, "Oh, I'm too busy to listen to you. Goodbye." And when she got home that night, she found her husband dead.
Oh my God.
And she looked and she saw this man standing by the window. And he turned around and he said, "You are an evil woman. My son was intended for great things, and I will burn away the evil." And he picked up this thing that she said just looked like a mayonnaise jar. And suddenly he turned and threw it in her face. And it was acid.
That's nice. Oh, I see now where this is going. Oh, wow.
So, of course, it blinded her, and she went through plastic surgery, and she went through all her rehab training, but she would not go back to work. Her partner tried to get her. She wouldn't do it. She would sit at home and play computer games.
Sounds like you did a lot of reading before you started writing, to me.
Oh, I love to read.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, I love to read. And her partner, the book starts. There's this really great scene. She locked the room where her husband died and where she was blinded. She locked the room, and she had not been in the room after, that happened. She had not gone. At first, it gives you a little, wonder what this is all about, because, there's this locked room. And her partner came and told her that a woman had come and hired him to go to a school for disabled children, because there had been so many accidents, and her little girl, who was blind, had drowned the night before, several nights before, and the mother just knew something was wrong. Her little girl would not have gone roaming around in the middle of the night.
Right.
You're doing a great job selling this one, I'm telling you. It sounds
and she had, and he said, please, will you just at least talk to the woman? No. And he said, Kate, you're just trying to get me back, and I won't go. And he just got furious with her. And he said, Kate, damn it, Kate, you make me so mad. He said, well, why should I expect you to care about people? You've even let your chives die. And a little bit later, she went to make an omelet, and she put her hands up, and her chives were dead. Finally, he agreed to see the woman, and the woman wasn't, she thought the woman was just some rich woman, that had sent her kid away. And when the woman got there, she was a single mom that was just, she worked as a nurse's aide at a nursing home, and she had put her little girl in the school because everybody had told her that, it was such a good school, and she wanted the very best for her little girl. And she was such a pathetic person. She told Kate, who is the main character, that she was the kind of woman that was smart and an independent blind woman, and that's what she'd always wanted her little girl to be like.
Phyllis, we are out of time.
Are we out of time? Told you could never shut me up, Bob, and you didn't believe me, did you?
Well, I
go buy my book.
The other. But I do want to thank you once again for your great knowledge and to share it with our participants and with myself. You're welcome to come back on a future program. We'll discuss it later on. And we thank you.
Thank you, all of you. You're a great bunch of people.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you.
Go buy my book. Bye-bye.
I will.
Amazon.com, right?
And Smashwords.
Very good. Take care. Thanks for listening.